rotates. So objective benefits. Consistency. Modal ranges do not change as the tonic shifts. Efficient visualization, especially helpful for instruments like guitar, where the fretboard is patterned. It's similar to most instruments, including the piano, although the piano does have differences because it's not completely symmetrical, but the concepts still apply. Reduced redundancy. You don't have to rename modes or intervals with every key change. That's the point. When you go from any key, all the relative positions should have the same name. When I play in any mode within the same diatonic shape, all the points are the same. The goal is to remember all of the distances between all of the points on the map. Don't rename the map. Mathematical clarity. So the modal half steps and the note half steps make stepwise progression easy to quantify. So clearly, if you only have 12 notes around the block, and you only have 7 notes around the block that are the places that you actually stop at around the block, it'd be great to number them, because then you could do simple math. I mean, it's mind-boggling that we don't do that, right? We should number. You do simple math and say, well, this is how many modal half steps we went distance-wise in terms of the 7 units that we travel, which you can easily do if you just give them a permanent number. So why hasn't this been done? Well, historical lock-in. The system was developed around the keyboard, instrument, and church modes. I'm not going to say, once again, that the keyboard shouldn't be holding us back, because I think people that learn on the keyboard have a great advantage in some ways, because the keyboard's a great instrument, but they also have a disadvantage because the structure of the keyboard's going to force you to think the way the keyboard is structured, with the white keys being the key of C somehow being more important, and the sharps and flats do look like they're less important. And so you have to kind of unlearn that from like a theory standpoint, I would think. So in some ways, like I learned just basically on a guitar, I think in some ways I didn't have to, that was beneficial in some ways and harder in other ways. Obviously the piano is way more flexible to play, and you got 2 hands and everything. So I'd love to know how to play the piano better. I mean, but it is what it is. Key of C bias, built from C major, then altered with sharps and flats. So once again, it leads us to think that the key of C is kind of like the main key. And if we number the key of C, I guess the idea was that they wanted to then use the same numbering system. So they made an off by 1 from a coding standpoint system, because it's natural to do that, by the way. I'm not saying like, well, they're stupid. They do. No, everybody does that. Human beings number from 1, not from 0. But you can see what they're trying to do is they're measuring distance. We're trying to measure distance. And in that case, we usually measure from the point, the node. And instead of doing that, we renumbered every system from 1 instead of from 0. Okay. Lack of digital conversion. Until recently, printed theory made it difficult to dynamically translate the system. Now, you might say, if I learn a system like this, if I use a different naming convention and whatnot and write it, then that's going to cause a problem, because I won't be able to convert it. Now, I want to say that functionally you can, because the current system is always off by 1. Just know that, so that when you play, it doesn't throw you off. You know what the distances mean. You know it's off by 1. You can accommodate for it. If you write things down and you prefer to write it in a way that I think is more clean, the cleaner system, I believe, then it's easy to convert, because now even ChatGTP, once again, ChatGTP, you could just say, hey, look, I'm doing it this way, ChatGTP. This is my numbering system. 1 through 7 is always 1 unit less than the system. And now just map it out, just convert it. Like, you don't even need specialized software. So that's the key. That's why these days there's less and less reason not to think of things more efficiently, because even if you write in the more efficient way, you can convert. Even if you're reading something in the way that's not as convenient for you, you can convert it. The conversion is easy. So why not? And by the way, you can see this in the Nashville music system, right? The Nashville music system, what are they doing? They're basically saying, I'm going to take the song in whatever key it is, and I'm going to convert it to the key of C so that I can keep the numbering system the same, right? That's kind of what's happening. So obviously that's easy to do these days, because you can the software can do that. You can just say, hey, ChatGTP, write this song, give me the chords in relation to the key of C. So even though it's in A minor, it gives me, the key of the major scale, let's say. So if it was in the related A minor, then just write it as though it's in the major so that A minor shows up as a 6 chord, right, instead of a 1. So it's all the same. And so all we would need to do is recognize. I'd like to take one more step and say I still want to recognize it's in A minor. I just want to keep the numbering system the same, so we could do it. So spreadsheets like Excel allow flexible modal logic mapping. So obviously Excel, hugely useful to kind of map this stuff out logically. The internet enables on-the-fly conversion and real-time exploration. So it's just like if you had something in Spanish, you plug it into the conversion. It's even easier to plug it into the conversion because Spanish, that language, every language is more complicated to convert. The conjugations are different and everything. The spelling's different. But when you look at this logical system, it's just a logical system. Everything works perfectly. It's perfectly convertible, easy, right? For not for me, but for like ChatGTP or something. Players want practical system to support improvisation, and learning. So clearly, from a guitar standpoint in particular, that's useful. Notice that a lot of times people confuse like writing stuff with sheet music. Sheet music was written for a very detailed, a composer that's writing exactly what you want them to do. Whereas a lot of guitar players just write the chords and the progressions because they want to get the general idea and then they want to improvise within that concept, whatever that concept is. So if that is your goal, that's why tablature came about. That's why we write in like just chords and whatnot. So if that's the goal, what we would like to do is come up with a nice, easy system that is as clean as possible, right? So if there's a cleaner way to do it, then that would be worth doing. So modal ranges, so you got the modal half steps, the note half step, resolve core inefficiencies in traditional theory. They offer a scalable, elegant solution suited for modern instruments. So as more musicians adopt digital tools, this system can become a newer standard. So I really think that, now that we have ChatGTP, like I say, take what I'm saying here, copy the transcript. You probably have access to the transcript. Copy it, plug it into ChatGTP or whatever your favorite AI tool is, and check it. Say, ChatGTP, does this make sense? It's a logical system. ChatGTP should be able to tell you, does that make sense? If you were to make the thing today, would you make it differently? And then why? And if that's the case, and everybody has the ability to jump on ChatGTP or whatever to make the conversion and see the argument, then I would think that at some point we're gonna move towards what's the easiest thing to do, even though it's been written down before. Like we're getting past the point where it was like everything was vocal. We were in a society where everything was word of mouth, and then everything got written down on the page, which made everything static once written down. And now we're getting to a stage where we're getting more to the verbal again, because now you can work with the computer and actually talk to the computer. You don't even need text so much, which might open up things to be able to change again, which more fluidly, which might be good for certain things like writing standards or speech standards, which are not optimal. They just happen to be what was frozen in time when they were written down. I don't know. That's just my theory. So we're going to go over some more of this stuff in our Excel worksheets, though. So we'll talk about conversion tables between scale degrees and modal ranges, summary of tonal distances for each modal interval, and visual fretboard layouts. So we'll map it out. I'll map it out as systematically as I can, and we'll work it through the Excel.